in the heart of the rugged highlands of western Bolivia, where the shimmering, sapphire-blue waters of Lake Titicaca reflect the whispers of a forgotten age. Welcome to Tiahuanaco, a pre-Columbian archaeological site of immense significance, a silent testament to a powerful pre-Hispanic empire that once cast its shadow across the vast, wind-swept plains of the southern Andes and far beyond its borders. This is the tale of a civilization that carved its legacy into the stone between approximately 500 and 900 Anno Domini. A golden era of cultural brilliance that sets it apart from the tapestry of other pre-Hispanic realms across the Americas. Its echoes still reverberating through the ages. Join us now as we peel back the layers of mystery surrounding Tiahuanaco and its awe-inspiring Gate of the Sun, where audacious claims of a 17,000-year-old astronomical calendar and haunting Ice Age constellation depictions challenge the very bedrock of established knowledge. Imagine, if you will, a thriving metropolis pulsating with life around 800 Anno Domini, where Tiahuanaco sprawled majestically across 4 square kilometers of fertile land, its streets alive with the footsteps of 10,000 to 20,000 souls, their voices rising in a symphony of trade and tradition. This prosperity was no mere stroke of fortune, but a testament to a sophisticated agro-pastoral economy that harnessed the Earth's bounty and vast trade networks that stitched the city into the vibrant fabric of the southern Andean region, its influence stretching like golden threads across distant horizons. The earliest written record of this marvel dates back to 1549, etched into history by the quill of the Spanish conquistador Pedro Cieza de Leon during his daring explorations, a fragile link to a past teetering on the edge of oblivion. For approximately 5 centuries, from 500 to 1000 Common Era, the Tiahuanaco civilization flourished in the cradle of the Lake Titicaca Basin, its cultural tendrils reaching far and wide across the rugged Andean landscape. Yet, around 1000 Anno Domini, a shadow fell over this thriving realm, its sudden collapse whispered to be the work of increased aridity, a relentless force that dried the lifeblood from the land. The consistent provision of a mainstream archaeological timeline for Tiahuanaco, placing its apogee and main construction periods within the 500 to 900 Anno Domini range, establishes a fundamental chronological baseline, a lighthouse of truth amidst the stormy seas of speculation. This established chronology, which is supported by robust radiocarbon dating, is the standard against which all alternative, much older dating claims, such as those proposing a 17,000-year age, must be rigorously evaluated. If the foundational age of a site is firmly established through scientific methods, then claims contradicting this by millennia necessitate extraordinary and verifiable evidence, which is frequently absent in the speculative narratives that beckon us forward, a challenge we embrace with open hearts. Amid the weathered ruins, where the wind carries the ghosts of a bygone era, stands the Gate of the Sun, a colossal sentinel hewn from a single, imposing block of andesite stone, its presence both awe-inspiring and shrouded in enigma. Rising approximately 2.8 to 3.0 meters high and stretching 3.8 to 4.0 meters wide, this 10-ton marvel was rediscovered by European explorers in the mid-19th century, lying horizontally with a significant crack scarring its ancient surface, a wound that speaks of time's relentless passage. Its current standing location is shrouded in uncertainty, believed not to be its original site, adding a layer of intrigue to the mystery that envelopes it like a cloak. The front frieze bursts with iconography from the Southern Andean iconographic series, where the central figure, the staff deity, reigns supreme, a Pan-Andean god possibly linked to the Inca creator god Viracocha or the Aymara weather god Thanupa, its divine gaze piercing the veil of history. This deity is encircled by 24 linear elements, interpreted by some as rays of the sun, casting a celestial glow across the stone, while 48 subsidiary figures, originally 30, now 32 human-headed attendants and 16 anthropomorphic figures with avian heads, move toward this central motif in a silent, eternal procession. Scholars generally concur that these carvings hold astronomical and/or astrological significance, and likely served a calendrical purpose, their intricate patterns hinting at a connection to the cosmos. The designs beneath the central figure are also suggested to represent celestial cycles, a dance of stars etched into the rock. Furthermore, given its positioning, the gate may symbolize a transition from a lunar to a solar-based religion, a spiritual evolution frozen in time. While multiple sources confirm that scholars believe the Gate of the Sun's carvings may have served a calendrical purpose and represent celestial cycles, no definitive evidence or specific details of an 8 months, 40 days, or 365-day calendar have been definitively decoded from the gate by mainstream archaeology. This highlights an important distinction. General scholarly interpretation of astronomical or calendrical intent is different from specific, detailed calendrical decodings. The absence of specific details in the mainstream literature suggests that a precise, widely accepted calendar decoding, particularly one as specific as 8 months, 40 days, is not part of the current academic consensus, a revelation that deepens our quest and beckons us to probe further into the shadows of the past. Step into the world of Arthur Poznański, an Austrian engineer, explorer, and ship's navigator turned amateur archaeologist, whose unyielding passion for the Andes spanned nearly 5 decades, culminating in his magnum opus, Tiahuanaco, the Cradle of American Man, published in 1945, a tome that trembled with bold visions. Poznański dared to propose that Tiahuanaco was constructed around 15,000 before Christ, suggesting an age of approximately 17,000 years, a theory rooted in the icy depths of the Ice Age, and a great flood that reshaped the world in a cataclysmic embrace. He envisioned Tiahuanaco as the cradle of civilization across the entire Americas, a bold narrative born from archaeoastronomical interpretations and geological comparisons, his mind a crucible of imagination and determination. A critical examination of Poznański's work reveals his background as an amateur archaeologist who was not trained as an archaeologist. This lack of formal training and adherence to rigorous scientific methodology meant that his theories were often based on little concrete information and were considered unfounded, a fragile foundation upon which grand dreams were built. This situation illustrates how early, passionate, but untrained individuals, despite potentially well-intentioned efforts such as contributing to the site's preservation, can inadvertently lay the groundwork for persistent pseudo-archaeological narratives that later gain considerable traction. as observed with Graham Hancock's subsequent theories, a legacy that echoes through the corridors of time. At the heart of Poznański's hypothesis lies the Calisosaya compound, a large rectangular enclosure defined by vertical stone pillars that rise like silent sentinels against the Andean sky. Its east-west orientation a focal point of his precise surveys conducted with the meticulous care of a master craftsman. He argued that this alignment, determined by lines of sight along the pillars and what he called purposely intended deviations from the cardinal points, was based on the astronomical principle of the obliquity of the ecliptic, the angle between Earth's orbital plane and the celestial equator, currently approximately 23 degrees and 27 minutes. A celestial dance he believed held the key to the site's ancient origins. This perceived alignment fueled his claim of the site's profound antiquity, a claim that shimmered with the promise of discovery. While Poznański's invocation of the obliquity of the ecliptic might lend an initial appearance of scientific rigor, a fundamental flaw underlies his approach, a crack in the edifice of his theory. The premise that the Calisosaya was constructed with extreme precision specifically for astronomical alignment was an initial assumption, not a conclusion derived through scientific investigation, a leap of faith rather than a step of evidence. Furthermore, historical accounts indicate that the stones at the site were not in their original positions and had been moved and smashed during 19th century railway construction and subsequently used as quarry material for centuries, their sacred alignments lost to the ravages of progress. This means that even if the astronomical calculations for a given angle were mathematically correct, the archaeological input data, the actual alignments of the stones, was fundamentally unreliable, a poignant reminder of how the apparent complexity of archaeoastronomical calculations can obscure underlying archaeological inaccuracies, making such theories difficult for a lay audience to critically assess, a challenge we face with open eyes. Modern scholarly consensus has turned away from Poznański's dreams, labeling his theories as pseudo-archaeology due to their lack of modern data and scientific methodologies, a verdict delivered with the weight of evidence. Critics dismantle his shoreline features on surrounding mountains as natural river valley formations, not evidence of an ancient port, their arguments cutting through the mist of speculation like a sharp blade. The stones of Calisosaya, disturbed and damaged by the hands of time and industry, render arguments for ancient star alignments pure guesswork, a point underscored by the fact that even astronomers who verified his calculations could not confirm the builder's intent or precision, their celestial validations a hollow echo. Poznański's work, influenced by intellectual trends like racist anthropology, painted him as a dogmatic 20th century strongman who controlled Tiahuanaco with an iron grip. His ideas later seized by pseudo-archaeology after his death, a legacy that refuses to fade. Despite the widespread rejection of his theories by modern scholars and their classification as pseudo-archaeology, Poznański's work continues to be cited, particularly by figures like Graham Hancock, a flame that burns on in the shadows of alternative narratives. This persistence highlights how unsubstantiated claims, once published, can endure in alternative narratives long after they have been academically refuted, a phenomenon often fueled by the hyperbolic narrative and enviable passion with which such theories are promoted, appealing to a desire for great stories over rigorous evidence. This poses a significant challenge for academic archaeology in correcting deeply ingrained popular misconceptions, especially when those misconceptions are continually amplified through modern media, a battle we join with determination. Now enter Graham Hancock, a British author whose voice resonates with pseudoscientific tales of ancient civilizations and lost lands, a narrative that draws us into his vision of an advanced society with spiritual technology flourishing during the last ice age, its temples rising like phantoms from the frozen earth. Hancock posits that this civilization was obliterated by comet impacts approximately 12,900 years ago, aligning with the Younger Dryas climatic event, its survivors dispersing to share advanced knowledge with primitive hunter-gatherer societies worldwide, birthing all known civilizations in a diaspora of wisdom. He rejects independent cultural evolution, embracing hyperdiffusionism, the idea of a single ice age progenitor, applying it to Tiahuanaco as a mysterious site about which very little is known, suggesting a 17,000-year construction date rooted in Poznański's discredited work, a foundation as fragile as ancient dust. Hancock hints at a cover-up by conventional archaeologists, a conspiracy whispered in the winds, a stance that challenges the very foundations of scientific inquiry with bold defiance. Hancock fundamentally rejects the notion that civilizations could have arisen independently in various parts of the world. Instead, he argues for a single, advanced Ice Age progenitor civilization from which all subsequent complex societies derive their knowledge, a concept known as hyperdiffusionism. He applies this overarching hypothesis to Tiahuanaco, portraying it as a mysterious site about which very little is known and suggesting its construction dates back 17,000 years. In doing so, he bypasses modern archaeological research and explicitly relies on Arthur Poznański's outdated and discredited work. Hancock frequently implies that direct evidence supporting his lost civilization theory has been covered up, or that conventional archaeologists deliberately refuse to seek it out, a shadow that looms over the pursuit of truth. Hancock's theories weave archaeoastronomical threads, most notably the Orion correlation theory, linking the Giza pyramids to Orion's belt as it appeared around 10,000 before Christ, a celestial map etched into the sands of time. While he explores such alignments across ancient sites, the provided information does not contain specific visual evidence or detailed claims from Hancock himself directly asserting that Tiahuanaco's Gate of the Sun depicts Orion or Pleiades, a void that leaves us yearning for clarity. The Orion correlation is primarily discussed in the context of the Giza pyramids, its stars a distant guide. Although there is a mention of the Pleiades being mythologically represented as 6 or 7 sisters or birds, this reference is made in the context of Göbekli Tepe, not explicitly linked by Hancock to the carvings on Tiahuanaco's Gate of the Sun within the provided materials, a thread left dangling in the tapestry of his narrative. This observation highlights a common pattern in pseudoarchaeology: the application of similar speculative frameworks across different ancient sites without providing specific, direct, and detailed evidence for each individual application, a practice that stretches the imagination thin. While a general theme of ancient astronomical knowledge is present in Hancock's work, the specific visual correlation of Orion or Pleiades with the Gate of the Sun is not directly supported by the provided information, a mystery that invites us to dig deeper. Experts in archaeology and related fields brand Hancock's work as pseudoarchaeology and pseudohistory, criticizing its lack of accuracy consistency, and impartiality, their voices rising like a chorus against the storm. His methodology: cherry-picking evidence, misrepresenting sources, ignoring context, and withholding critical counter-evidence, betrays a bias toward preconceived conclusions, leaning on hunches, intuition, or religious and nationalist dogma rather than the scientific method, a path fraught with peril. He erodes trust in known facts, positioning himself as a culture hero challenging academic dogmatism, a narrative carrying racist implications by denying indigenous ingenuity, suggesting enlightened, white-skinned, godlike visitors or a vanished predecessor, a shadow cast over the achievements of ancient peoples. His pole shift hypothesis lacks geological support, a theory adrift in the currents of speculation, and the Orion correlation theory falters under precise precession calculations, its celestial harmony disrupted. Yet, his compelling tales thrive on cultural skepticism, a phenomenon with societal echoes beyond archaeology, resonating in the hearts of those who question the established order. Hancock frequently aims to erode trust in known facts and archaeological expertise, positioning himself as a culture hero who challenges the perceived dogmatism of academics, a lone figure against the tide. His claims have been noted to carry racist implications, as they often suggest that indigenous peoples were not the true originators of their own cultures and technologies, a burden of history laid bare. He has also been accused of employing the Galileo gambit, a logical fallacy where one claims to be correct simply because experts disagree with them, a gambit played on the stage of public imagination. Regarding Tiahuanaco specifically, Hancock's assertion of minimal archaeology at the site and his proposed 17,000-year date are directly refuted by the extensive academic record, a fortress of evidence built on dozens of studies, major excavations, and radiocarbon dating that consistently place the site's primary occupation around 1500 before Christ, with more refined estimates pointing to a founding around 110 Anno Domini. Furthermore, Hancock's pole shift hypothesis, a central tenet of his lost civilization narrative, lacks any support within the geological community, which widely accepts the model of plate tectonics, a science grounded in the Earth's own testimony. The Orion correlation theory, while subject to some recent academic analysis, has also faced criticism for requiring the inversion of star maps and for not achieving a perfect match when astronomical precession is accurately accounted for, a celestial puzzle unsolved. The consistent critique of Hancock's methodology across multiple sources reveals a systematic pattern typical of pseudoscience: selective use of evidence, misrepresentation of sources, disregard for context, omission of contradictory data, and an adversarial stance towards established archaeology. This is not merely a difference in interpretation. It represents a fundamental departure from the scientific method, a divergence that shapes the narrative we pursue. These methodological shortcomings are designed to support a preconceived conclusion, rather than allowing evidence to lead to conclusions, a path we tread with caution. The popularity of Hancock's narratives often stems from their compelling nature and their alignment with a broader cultural skepticism towards established expertise and scientific findings, which can have significant societal implications beyond the field of archaeology, a ripple effect that touches the very fabric of our understanding. The chronological saga of Tiahuanaco has evolved from the mists of speculation to the clarity of precision, moving beyond Poznański's 11,000 to 17,000-year-old claim and Carlos Ponce Sangin's unreliable 1580 before Christ's date to a consensus no older than 200 or 300 before Christ. A journey through time illuminated by the torch of science. Recent radiocarbon assessments, with a 68% probability range of 50 to 170 Anno Domini, peg the founding around 110 Anno Domini, with monument building ending around 720 Anno Domini and permanent residence ceasing around 1010 Anno Domini, a timeline etched into the Earth itself. Radiocarbon dating is a widely accepted and reliable method for dating organic materials, applicable for timescales up to approximately 50,000 years, with typical accuracy ranging from decades to centuries, a tool that peers into the past with steady hands. In the Andean context, it is generally preferred over luminescence dating for establishing cultural chronologies due to issues of inconsistency with the latter, a preference born of experience and rigor. The progression of dating from Poznański's geological comparisons to Ponsandjins's early radiocarbon dates, and finally to the current consensus based on reliable radiocarbon dates, demonstrates the scientific process of refinement and increasing accuracy in archaeology, a testament to human perseverance. This trend illustrates that archaeological understanding is not static, but evolves with improved methodologies, such as calibrated radiocarbon dating and sophisticated statistical analysis, a dance of intellect and evidence. Consequently, claims based on outdated or unscientific methods are not simply alternative interpretations. They are superseded by more robust, evidence-based chronologies, a truth we hold as our guiding star. Proponent or source, proposed date range, primary dating method or evidence, current scholarly status. Arthur Poznański, 11,000 to 17,000 years old, approximately 15,000 before Christ. Archaeoastronomy, geological comparisons, rejected as pseudo-archaeology. Carlos Ponce Sanguinés 70s, 1580 before Christ, early radiocarbon dating, recognized as unreliable. Current archaeological consensus, 110 Anno Domini 50 to 170 Anno Domini 68% probability. Statistical assessment of reliable radiocarbon dates, ceramic styles, widely accepted consensus, a ledger of time written in stone. The carvings adorning the Gate of the Sun are widely believed by scholars to possess astronomical and/or astrological significance, indicating they may have served a calendrical purpose. Their intricate patterns a map to the heavens carved by ancient hands. Specifically, designs located below the central figure are suggested to represent celestial cycles, a rhythm of the cosmos etched into the rock. The central figure itself is identified as the staff god, a Pan-Andean deity, possibly representing Viracocha or Thanupa, a divine presence watching over the ages. The 48 subsidiary figures, comprising 32 human-headed and 16 avian-headed entities, are depicted moving towards this central motif, which is surrounded by 24 rays, a celestial embrace frozen in time. While the general calendrical purpose is acknowledged, there is no definitive evidence that this theory is correct concerning specific calendar systems, such as an 8 months, 40-day system or a precise 365-day calendar, being definitively decoded from the gate by mainstream scholarship, a puzzle yet to be solved. The gate is considered a later monument within the Tiahuanaco site and may have symbolized a shift towards a solar-based religion, a spiritual transformation etched into its stone heart. Mainstream scholarship acknowledges the potential for astronomical or calendrical significance in the carvings, which reflects the common practice of ancient cultures to observe and integrate celestial cycles into their belief systems, a universal language of the stars. However, the consistent phrasing of may have served a calendrical purpose, and the absence of specific, detailed calendar decodings in academic literature indicate that while the intent is plausible, the exact mechanism or precise calendar system, for example 8 months, 40 days, is not definitively proven or widely accepted, a distinction that separates reasoned archaeological inference from speculative, precise claims that lack corroborating evidence, a line we tread with care. Archaeoastronomy, as a field, endeavors to connect material evidence on the ground with celestial phenomena, thereby revealing how ancient societies integrated their landscapes into their belief systems, a bridge between earth and sky built by human hands. However, the application of archaeoastronomical dating, particularly over millennia, faces significant limitations due to the phenomenon of axial precession, a celestial dance that shapes our view of the stars. Axial precession refers to the gradual shift in the orientation of Earth's axis of rotation, completing a full cycle approximately every 26,000 years, often referred to as a Platonic year, a cycle that turns the heavens like a cosmic wheel. This celestial motion causes the apparent positions of stars to shift over vast periods, a slow drift through time. While astronomical models for precession are highly accurate for short intervals, for example several centuries around the J 2000.0 epoch, their errors rapidly increase with longer time spans, a drift that grows with each passing millennium. Beyond a few centuries, these approximations quickly deviate from reality, a challenge to precision that looms large. Although some calculations, such as those performed using software like Stellarium, can remain relatively accurate for precession up to 40,000 years if the required accuracy is within 100 years, their reliable application to archaeological sites critically depends on the initial structural alignments being known with extreme precision and the structures remaining in their original, undisturbed positions, a rare alignment of fate and fact. The primary limitation of archaeoastronomical dating for deep time lies not solely in the astronomical calculations themselves, which can be precise for certain phenomena over long periods, a testament to mathematical mastery. Rather, it critically depends on the archaeological premise, the foundation upon which all else rests. Astronomical calculations are rendered meaningless if they are based on an unsupported premise, such as the assumption of extreme precision in original construction, or that the physical structures remain in their original positions, a premise shattered by the hands of time. This highlights that even a perfectly understood astronomical phenomenon cannot reliably date a site if the physical evidence used for alignment is compromised or its original design intent cannot be scientifically verified, a lesson carved into the stone of history. For archaeoastronomy to be scientifically valid, it must be rigorously integrated with broader archaeological methods, including accurate dating, contextual analysis, and verification of structural integrity, rather than relying on isolated, assumed alignments, a holistic approach we champion. Even Graham Hancock himself acknowledges the unreliability of astroarchaeological alignments, stating they are intriguing but not conclusive, a rare admission in the heat of debate. In contrast, radiocarbon dating, despite its own inherent uncertainties typically decadal to centennial era ranges, is generally considered a more reliable method for establishing cultural chronologies, especially given the documented issues of site disturbance, a beacon of truth in a sea of speculation. As our journey nears its end, we stand at the crossroads of evidence and speculation, where the robust archaeological chronology of Tiahuanaco, from 110 to 1010 Anno Domini, clashes with Poznański's 17,000-year fantasy and Hancock's Ice Age civilization tale, a collision of worlds that stirs the soul. The investigation into the claims surrounding Tiahuanaco City and its Gate of the Sun reveals a significant divergence between established scientific understanding and speculative theories, a divide that shapes our narrative. The robust archaeological chronology, supported by extensive and reliable radiocarbon dating, places Tiahuanaco's primary period of occupation and cultural apogee firmly between approximately 110 and 1010 Anno Domini, a timeline etched in the Earth's memory. This evidence directly contradicts the assertion of a 17,000-year-old origin for the city, a claim that fades under scrutiny. Arthur Poznański's hypothesis of a 17,000-year construction date, derived from archaeoastronomical calculations and geological comparisons, has been widely rejected by modern scholars, their voices united in dissent. This rejection stems from his lack of formal archaeological training, reliance on flawed premises such as the assumed original precision and undisturbed state of the Calisasaya stones, and the documented historical disturbance of the site, a foundation cracked by time. Graham Hancock's theories, which leverage Poznański's outdated claims to support a narrative of a lost Ice Age civilization, are consistently categorized as pseudo-archaeology, a label earned through bold assertions. His methodology is characterized by selective use of evidence, misrepresentation of sources, disregard for context, and an adversarial stance towards mainstream archaeology, a path that diverges from truth. While the Gate of the Sun's carvings are acknowledged by scholars to possess astronomical or calendrical significance, there is no definitive mainstream scholarly interpretation that decodes a specific 17,000-year-old calendar or direct Ice Age constellation depictions like Orion or Pleiades on the gate itself, a mystery unresolved. Furthermore, the inherent limitations of archaeoastronomical dating over vast timescales, particularly concerning the necessary precision of original alignments and the rapid accumulation of error in precession calculations beyond a few centuries, render claims of 17,000-year-old alignments highly unreliable without robust corroborating physical evidence, a challenge that tests our resolve. The importance of scientific methodology in archaeological and astronomical research cannot be overstated, a pillar of our journey. The investigation highlights the indispensable role of rigorous scientific methods in establishing reliable chronologies and understanding ancient cultures, methods that light our path. Methods such as radiocarbon dating, stratigraphic analysis, and contextual interpretation are fundamental to archaeological inquiry, providing the empirical data necessary for evidence-based conclusions, a foundation we cherish. While archaeoastronomy is a valid and valuable field of study, its application for dating sites over deep time requires careful consideration of its inherent limitations, a caution we heed. For archaeoastronomical claims to be scientifically robust, they must be corroborated by other archaeological evidence, rather than relying solely on speculative alignments or interpretations of disturbed structures, a principle we uphold. The integrity of the physical evidence and the verifiable intent of the builders are paramount, a truth we defend. In conclusion, a nuanced and evidence-based understanding of sites like Tiahuanaco emerges from established academic research, a beacon in the night. This approach stands in stark contrast to narratives that prioritize sensationalism and preconceived notions over empirical data and rigorous scientific inquiry, a contrast we explore with passion. The continued pursuit of knowledge through systematic investigation remains crucial for accurately reconstructing the rich and complex history of human civilization, a pursuit we dedicate ourselves to.